Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC Vegas 25, Dominick Reyes versus Jiri Prochazka. And Shaq, it's going down Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada, back at the Apex. Two light heavyweights in the top five want to get to that title position. Obviously, Dominick Reyes coming off two title fights against the last two champions of the division, and Jiri Prochazka. This is a guy that was offered a UFC contract maybe 5 years ago. He was like, man, I'm not quite ready, but one day I want to be a UFC champion, so I'm going to let y'all know when I'm ready. He let him know, goes in there in his debut, knocks out Volkan Oezdemir, and here he is in the main event against Dominick Reyes. Shaq, should be one hell of a fight.
Yeah, I don't know if these guys can live up to last week's card, but I think it's a good attempt. I mean, Jiri, the way he looked against Oezdemir, I mean, that was super impressive, not to mention his other wins in the Ryzen promotion. He beat Nemkov, the Bellator champ. He's got some good wins on his resume. It's not like he's been 100% fighting bums. I mean, he's got a couple of good opponents in there. And Reyes, at one point, was the number one prospect at 205. He stumbled against the two champs, but this is a good time to bounce back. I know he's been, kind of, I don't want to say hiding out, but he's been laying low, and let's see what he does on Saturday night, because Prochazka, or however you say his last name, is a lot to deal with.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I mean, look, yeah, he did beat a bunch of washed up vets on the regional scene, but that's what I want to see on the regional scene, because you talk about some of those new prospects that we saw last week, like Rong Shu and the kid fighting Molina, they had these extensive records, but I kind of alluded to, man, that their records might be a little padded. Whereas this guy, I want these up and comers to be tested against UFC vets. Yeah, is CB Dollaway and Fabio Maldonado and Brandon Halsey, Bellator vet, former Bellator champion, are all these guys washed up? Yes, but at least they've been there on that stage. So it's a great experience for a young talent to be able to go out there, showcase their skills, get those wins. Then he comes into the UFC. I mean, listen, we can say all we want about his resume. The guy still got finishes over Vadim Nemkov and Oezdemir, so I think he's no slouch at all. And obviously Reyes, a lot of people, not myself, but a lot of people thought that Reyes went out there and beat the great John Jones when they fought. So this is going to be a hell of a fight. Now, Shaq, before we break down this fight start to finish, obviously we got to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped, who've been taking care of us. Thank you so much, Manscaped. Hey, you got bush? You definitely do if you haven't tried the best products from our sponsor today, Manscaped. After using these life-changing products, you're going to want to join a ball sack beauty contest. I'm looking out for you too, because I also have an exclusive 20% off discount using the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. Now, I mean, listen, man, you don't want to be cutting them things. You don't want to be going out there not ready for a short notice opportunity. I mean, get with it, guys, especially now you're coming out of quarantine. The ladies will thank you. You're going to thank yourself. You're going to feel good about yourself. That's the most important thing. Manscaped is dedicated to helping you level up your full body grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0 kit. And guys, summer's coming up, so you already know you got to be ready. The Perfect Package 3.0 comes with the Essential Lawnmower 3.0, which is what I got in my hand right here. This waterproof, cordless body trimmer and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your grooming routine. This is the best trimmer on to help you trim up the hedges. This trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to advanced skin-safe technology pioneered by Manscaped. When you trim the hedges, the tree stands tall. That's funny. I heard that a long time ago. And try this out and see for yourself if it's true. Inside the Perfect Package, you'll also find the Manscaped Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, making sure your balls are smelling majestic before your Tinder date or before a date with your longtime one. And also, you'll also find the Crop Reviver Ball Toner, a spray-on testy toner that's designed to make your balls smell irresistible. Be sure to add the refined cologne to your arsenal. I definitely added it to my arsenal, and no complaints here. With the Perfect Package or Performance Package, you get 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag, which is a $39 value, and the patented high-performance reduced chafing Manscaped Boxers. I know my boy Shaq knows about them boxers. They're serious. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. Do yourself a favor. Always use the right tools for your bush trimming experience. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code BATTLE20. It's 2021 and you still got Bush. Change that with Manscaped, Shaq. Oh, yeah. We can't hear you, but we can see that beautiful crop preserver.
My bad. It's my crop preserver. Let me get it on the camera right. But yeah, man, that thing is it works wonders, man. I mean, you never smell bad. You never are gonna miss a short notice opportunity, and nothing sucks than, you know, with these what I call the bootleg razors, man. The ones you get in Walgreens and Walmart and shit. The one you cut yourself and you know you're supposed to meet up with Shorty later that night and you cut yourself and then their whole plans are ruined, man. So get that Manscaped and stay clean and shaven down there.
Well said. Now, Shaq, let's break down this whole card start to finish, because first up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Luke Sanders, he's 13-4, and Felipe Colares is 9-2. Currently, they got Luke Sanders minus 140. The comeback on Felipe Colares is plus 120. So, I mean, look, Luke Sanders is better across the board. It's just a case where Luke Sanders, what's he going to do to sabotage himself this time? I mean, this is a guy that he'll be dominating fights, and then he'll get caught with leg locks. He'll be dominating fights, and he'll get caught with a big punch. Both things have happened more than once. You can't call them flukes anymore. So I think he's going to dominate Felipe Colares until he gets caught in a guillotine choke. So I'm going to go with Felipe Colares via second-round submission. And I'm gonna call the submission. I'm gonna say guillotine.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Luke here, man. I just think I get the thought in the line, of course, but when I watch tape, I kind of see it. I see the reasoning why, man. We're talking about a guy that like barely beat Domingo Pilarte, is a target for the left hand. I mean, he couldn't be more of a target for that left. If I've ever seen it. I get the lines wide, but I think you're fading shit with shit, and I think that Colares, I don't know if he's UFC caliber. Luke Sanders, at least he's beaten a couple of guys here and there. At least he beat Renan Barão. Even, you know, Renan Barão ain't shit these days, but I don't think he necessarily pulled a stunt in the Nate Maness fight. In my opinion, I think Maness is honestly a little underrated. Not too many people know about him. One of the longer bantamweights that you're gonna see on the roster. Dude's like 5'11", almost 6 foot. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Luke here to knock Felipe out. I'm gonna say early too, man. I just see Felipe being too hittable.
He is very hittable indeed. Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between KB Buhler, he's 8-1, and Andreas Mikulitis is 12-4. Currently, they got Andreas Mikulitis minus 240. The comeback on KB Buhler is plus 200. So, Andreas Mikulitis dropping down to 185 pounds, which I think is probably the right move. He looked a little small at 205. So basically what we got here is we got a guy in Andreas Mikulitis who is kind of a bit of a front runner. You know, he'll come out super hard, man, and in that first round, man, he gets a lot of first round finishes. The issue is when he gets out the first round, he tends to slow down, he tends to struggle, and that's when other people can get him out of there. With KB Buhler, man, I kind of went on the record and said I wasn't really sure if he belonged in the UFC. I said that last fight had nothing to do with KB Buhler, had everything to do with Tom Breeze. Turns out that was correct. Tom Breeze smoked him accordingly. And you know, KB Buhler ruined Bruno Oliveira's career, man. You know, Bruno Oliveira was supposed to get that big win over KB Buhler. Instead, KB pulls out the fight, which I understand. He got the UFC call, and Bruno has to go up a weight class to fight Carlos Ulberg and was never the same after. So that sucks that he didn't get to fight KB Buhler. Listen, man, I understand people want to take the shot because it's plus 200 to fade Mikulitis, but Shaq said fading shit with shit in the last fight. I'm gonna say that here, man. I'm gonna go with Mikulitis. Look, I know he's a front runner. I know that if the fight gets extended, you know, it might get sketched, but I think this is one of those opponents that he can go out there and style on. Buhler, he's tall, he's got decent technique. I just don't see that dog in him, man. No disrespect. So I'm gonna go with Andreas Mikulitis to get it done.
Yeah, KB Buhler, definitely don't think he's UFC level unless he's made a lot of improvements, which is a good chance he has. But I mean, this dude, I seen a fight on the local scene where he had a comeback win against Matt Dwyer, and Matt Dwyer, you know, if he was known for anything in his UFC career, it was for getting that ass whooped. He was exciting, but I mean, he got beat up a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Mikulitis. Look, I think he quit his last fight against who did he fight? Bukauskas, yeah, Modestus, yeah. And I think he quit the fight, but at the same time, I mean, there was some big. Modestus is a big boy. I mean, Modestus is in there swinging some big leather, and I mean, look, he couldn't take it, but I think he'll get this one. KB Buhler, man, you know, I think they just signed this guy. You know, sometimes they sign these guys for a quick 2 and out the door. You know, there's a couple more on this card too.
Before we talk about this next fight, everyone do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate it. Now, next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Sam Hughes, who's 5-2, taking on Loma Lookboonmee, who's 5-2. Now, I know they have identical records, but don't let that fool you real quick. The odds, Loma Lookboonmee minus 350, comeback on Sam Hughes is plus 260. So, like I said, both got 5-2 records, but don't let those records fool you, my man. I mean, Sam Hughes, you know, I was kind of surprised she got signed to the UFC. She got finished by Vanessa Dumopoulos. You know, we love Vanessa. She's a fantastic dancer, but as far as, you know, fighting, that's, you know, a completely different story, man.
Is there any truth to confirm? Is there any can anyone confirm that she's a good dancer, or?
Wait, we want to give her credit for something, because I know we ain't going to talk about the fighting, you know. But I mean, listen, with Tecia Torres, because, you know, Sam Hughes just fought Torres. With Tecia Torres, I remember a long ass time ago, Shaq, when like you could just predict Tecia Torres by decision every single fight that she'd win, and it'd come through. When Tecia Torres is out there getting first round finishes against you and destroying you like that, I know that Tecia is a litmus test. I know she's top 15, and I know that she'll embarrass certain people, like, you know, win a nice 30-27 unanimous decision. But when she's out there getting first round finishes against you, that's when, you know, probably need a little more experience on the regional scene. And Loma Lookboonmee, stylistically, hey, let's just go out there and tee off on her. Loma's got some very technical Muay Thai. She's on point with her foot sweeps, her combinations, everything. I like what she brings to the table, but more importantly, I like this matchup for her. Look, down the line, a bigger fighter that's going to take her down. That's when we can look to fade Loma. Not here against someone that probably doesn't belong and is also going to engage her in the kind of fight she wants. So I got Loma here to get this done.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty high on Loma. I think she has the potential to be in the top 15 one day. I mean, she's only got like a few amount of fights. She's coached by you know, our boy Hickman. I know you remember Hickman from
he's from Georgia.
The NFC days. Yeah, from the NFC days. So he's doing big things out there at Tiger Muay Thai. And, you know, I like her a lot, man. I think in terms of Thai, I mean, there ain't going to be too many girls that have that technical prowess like she does, especially at the lower levels that she's currently in right now. So the Sam Hugheses, I mean, you already saw what she did to Jinyu Fry her last fight. I mean, that was an absolute beatdown. She was blasting her with the elbows. Just the technicality of that clinch, man, is a lot to deal with. Sam Hughes, look, she doesn't belong here. Even though the Demopoulos fight, she was winning that fight, dominating. She got caught with a invert, some type of crazy ass submission. I don't even remember what it was, but she got put to sleep unconscious. And then
like
the
Jorge
fight with
and
Torres,
Toby,
yeah, something like inverted triangle or something like that. And I mean, look, I'm not saying she pulled the Rashkov her last fight, but she pulled the Rashkov her last fight. Look, I know she was gonna get absolutely beat up. I mean, it was getting ugly. It was gonna be hell. It was already an hellacious ass whooping. Like, it's just, I know some girls that would have stayed in there and just kept taking it. And, you know, I don't know exactly what happened, but hey, look, fight another day. But it just lets me know that she ain't ready. She ain't ready for this level of competition, man. There's just, honestly, I just think she needs more fights, man. I don't think Loma Lookboonmee, like, her fight against, her debut was against Albu, you know, kind of green, showed some good signs, but then she took a big step up against Hill, and Hill's like a top, you know, 15 girl. And I mean, Loma held her own. She won a round on 2 cards. Like, it wasn't like she got absolutely beaten up to a point where, you know, they had to stop the fight in between rounds, man. So I think Loma's better now, better long term, and I think she's gonna whoop up on Sam Hughes.
Now, real quick before we talk about Kai Kamaka and TJ Brown, I want to give a quick shout out to my boy Marcus for hooking me up with this badass Bud Crush hoodie. That's his company. Shaq, your merch is on the way. Follow him at Bud_Crush. My boy Marcus, met him in Vegas. I had a blast. So thank you so much for supporting me, Shaq, the show, and for all the love over the years. You're the man. Bud_Crush. And it's just a great message. What y'all stand for, and this gear looks fresh. So thank you so much, my man. Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Kai Kamaka. He's 8-3, and TJ Brown is 14-8. Currently, they got Kai Kamaka -150. The comeback on TJ Brown is +130. So this is an interesting fight because TJ Brown, he's got more than twice the experience of Kai Kamaka. The issue with Brown, obviously, he's a fantastic. Well, he's a decent wrestler. You could say he's a fantastic wrestler. He gets a lot of takedowns, but man, his chin. I've seen fights that he's dominating and he just gets floored, or sometimes the decision making, the fight IQ. I saw him get choked out with something against Jordan Griffin that I've never seen ever in the UFC. A guillotine from side control, like what? So it's like Kai Kamaka, I actually think is a talented prospect. I know he let a lot of people down that last fight. I felt like he was in there with another tough prospect. But I really liked what I saw from Kai Kamaka in that debut, man. On a short notice debut, went out there. They landed a lot of volume, him and Tony Kelly did. And I feel like, if Kai Kamaka can stay off his back and get to the scorecards, man, I think that he can outwork TJ Brown. It's just the takedowns are the big concern here. So I understand people taking the shot on TJ. He's the more experienced guy. He can possibly land takedowns here. I just can't trust the guy to not fuck up along the way. At least he's the dog. At least you're not laying chalk on TJ Brown. I'm gonna go with Kai Kamaka. I really liked him as a prospect on LFA. I liked his debut. He fell short in the last fight, but sometimes when they get that 50K bonus and they've never seen anything like that in their lives, they underperform their next fights. I think he's been humbled. I think he's around the right people, and I'm gonna pick Kai Kamaka to get this win, Shaq.
Yeah, TJ Brown is kind of. He was in that category where, like with Brock Weaver, a couple of guys that I honestly, they were just kind of more glaring to me. I did not think they deserved contracts when they were on the Contender Series. I their fights on the Contender Series, I just was not impressed. He got floored in that Contender Series fight. The dude he fought, was a can. And, look, TJ Brown, yeah, he's strong. He's got the takedowns, but this dude ain't built for a war, man. I mean, his calves are weak. His chin is weak. His fight IQ is weak. He's definitely not as scary as he looks. I mean, he's a big boy, but dude's not built for war, man. His chin just can't simply take it. How many knockout losses does he have? I don't know exactly how many, but you could just tell that when fists are flying around his face, that it changes him. His demeanor changes. I mean, you can see it. Look at his last fight against Danny Chavez. Look, I kind of seen that come. Well, with Chavez in his fight with Gordon, because I was like, everyone's like hyping up Danny Chavez to be this prospect. I'm like, guys, everybody looks good against TJ Brown. Everybody looks good against TJ Brown, man. Like TJ, look, I know Kai let a lot of people down, but you got to think Pierce was coming off a long layoff. He moved to fight ready. I've actually been hearing that Kamaka that was a late notice fight, like maybe a couple weeks. There was kind of limbo of whether the fight was going to be at 55 or 45. They made it at 45. I think if you look at his weigh-ins, he had a very bad weight cut that day. So I honestly think Kai Kamaka just kind of bit off more than he could chew. He's a young kid. He's tried to take a fight on short notice, tried to be, these kids think that not everyone can be Cowboy Cerrone. I mean, you can't just fight every 2 weeks, and I think he made a mistake taking that fight. So I think he's going to bounce back on track here against TJ, who borderline, is a guarantee that if you touch this kid at any point in the 15 minutes, the chances that he hits a knee are very, very high. And yeah, Pierce definitely had some takedowns and control Kai. It's definitely a concern, but I heard he moved to Las Vegas. I heard he's working with the Hawaiian team at with Eric Nixick and Puna and Brad Tavares and who's the other Hawaiian fuck? and Naki Patola. So he's working with those guys. So let's see how they affect this game. He's no longer training in that. He is Ray Cooper's boy, the PFL millionaire. And, they train in like a little garage. So he's getting some better training, and let's see how he does.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. And I'm very excited to see this fight for sure. Now, next up, also in the featherweight division, we got Gabriel Mowgli Benitez. He's 22-8. He's taking on Jonathan JSP Pierce, who's 10-4. Currently, they got Gabriel Benitez minus 190. The comeback on Jonathan Pierce is plus 165. Shaq. So it's interesting, man, because it's like Gabriel Benitez is such a vet, and you got to be a certain level to beat this guy. Obviously, we always talk about it every time. Some of the hardest kicks in the featherweight division. Even when he fought at lightweight, man. I mean, this guy kicks like a mule. He's so experienced. His hands are underrated, in my opinion. Nasty guillotine choke. With Jonathan Pierce, one thing I really like about this kid is his toughness and his volume. His output is nonstop, and I feel like he's really big for the weight class. That last fight, man, he put on some size in that last fight. He looked like a different man than he did in the Joe Lozon fight. I know that Joe Lozon fight was a big moment, and sometimes you fight Lozon in Boston, he might run through you. That's what happened. I felt like he looked like a new man. So are you kind of going with the volume and the output of Pierce, or do you favor the experience of a savvy vet like Gabriel Benitez?
Yeah, this is a good fight. Because historically speaking, I pick Mowgli Benitez fights very well. I don't know. I think I've picked like his last 5 or 6 fights correctly. I think I bet them all too. Starting from since like Jason, Ben and I times or something like that.
Oh yeah, you did pick him to beat Knight. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I pick his fights very well. I got a very good read on Mowgli. I bet him his last fight. They said the line was too steep against a jobber named Justin James, and I mean, he ran through him. Bet Omar against him. Bet Sodiq against him. Bandai. So yeah, this fight with Pierce, man, I like what I'm seeing from Pierce. I've actually been hearing good things about Pierce from some people that I respect in the game, like Captain Eric. I don't know JSP what he was doing during that break, but apparently he's been a sparring partner for Zombie in Zombie's camps, and they actually bought him to Brazil to train with Patricio as well. So I guess they've been using JSP as a punching bag for the Pitbull brothers, and I guess he learned some things along the way to take him to that last fight. But on a serious note, man, I just think Mowgli Benitez, honestly, man, is one of the more underrated fighters in that 45/55 range. Not saying that he's ever going to be top 15, but I just think that, I mean, just look at his losses, like the Omar Morales fight. Even though he lost, I mean, it was a fantastic fight. I mean, they were standing in the pocket. I mean, some of the kicks traded in that fight were brutal. I mean, Mowgli's shin was literally, down to the bone. And then the Sodiq Yusuff fight. Sodiq Yusuff is a top 10 guy at featherweight, as far as I'm concerned, with wins over some good lightweight prospects as well. Andre Philly. So yeah, the proof, you have to be top 15. And what I'm concerned with JSP is that we're overrating this performance that he had against Kai Kamaka. I like Kai Kamaka, but Kai Kamaka is nowhere near as experienced as a Mowgli Benitez. He's nowhere near as not talented, but just he doesn't kick as hard. He doesn't punch as hard against high level guys like a Mowgli Benitez does, in my opinion. So, honestly, man, I am gonna go with Mowgli Benitez. I do like what I'm seeing from Pierce, but I don't want to jump the gun just yet. But on the bright side, he is dog money. But I think there's reason to believe that Mowgli should be this price. Like, he takes care of business against these lower level guys. And Pierce, the more so the key factor for that Kai Kamaka fight really wasn't the striking. His volume's good for sure, but I really think Kai Kamaka slowed down very quick. I don't see Gabriel Benitez doing that, and I don't see him getting the wrestling, having an edge in the wrestling like that against Mowgli Benitez. I think it's going to be a lot harder to get on the inside. I mean, you're gonna be eating some hard body kicks, some hard inside low kicks, a kick upstairs. I want to see what JSP does against this time. I think Kamaka is talented, but a young kid who's making a lot of mistakes. Mowgli Benitez is not that type of guy, so I'm gonna take him for the win here. I say by just a solid decision, just by blasting JSP with kicks. But I think JSP will go the distance. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, Gabriel is flat out in his prime right now, and I kind of wanted JSP to, you know, build off the momentum of that last fight, you know, go fight a TJ Brown, go fight a Jordan Griffin, go fight that Saldana guy. Like, I feel like those are the kind of fights that
that's his Saldana's his teammate.
Well, that's too bad, you know, because that's an easy win for him. No disrespect, but you know, fight guys of that caliber. Like that's what I want to see. Jonathan Pierce in there with, man. I mean, he's still young in the game, but I think he's talented. I think he's got the size. He's huge for the weight class. I love the output. I mean, nearly 150 strikes landed on the Contender Series fight. The last one against Kamaka. I mean, it's one thing to get the win, but the way he won, to outwork a Hawaiian warrior the way he did, like I'm very impressed, man, for sure. And I think he's got a bright future. He's also a guy that overcame a broken jaw back in the day. He's overcome some serious stuff. So nothing but respect for JSP. But I agree with you on this one, man. I think that Gabriel, it just that experience is such a key factor in a lot of these kind of matchups where you talk about the vet versus the up and comer. And we've been shown time and time again that there are levels to this. And I think that JSP is going to go on to win some fights. But like I said, I want to see him in there with TJ Brown. I want to see him in there with Jordan Griffin. I want to see him in there with those kind of guys for now. Then later on down the line, you can work your way to a Mowgli. I don't think he's quite ready. And people are going to be like, well, Omar Morales fought him early, and it was, guys, Omar Morales is like 35 years old. Omar's flat out in his prime. It's a completely different story. JSP is just a kid. I mean, he's still in his 20s, man. So we'll see what happens. He's a big boy. He's got output. He's got decent wrestling, but people are disrespecting the defensive wrestling of Gabriel Benitez. They say because Enrique Barzola took him down a bunch, therefore Pierce will. Guys, don't disrespect Barzola. One thing about Barzola, the kid can wrestle, and he's been in the UFC. Barzola is a guy that's won like 6 or 7 UFC fights. He's no slouch. And if you actually watch what happened in that fight, Gabriel Benitez got up from every takedown, and in the last round, he even dropped Barzola. So it's not like that fight was some blowout or something like people are making it seem. So I'm
it's my bad, but El Fuerte Barzola dumped Mazvar Evloev twice. Bro, that's just facts.
Like he won a round, bro. Like, it's just I don't understand how people are disrespecting Barzola. You know, I know why, because of their recency bias. They bet him at -300 against Yaya, and it was a draw his first time at bantamweight. Oh my God, you know. So yeah, I got Gabriel here. The body kicks. I think his hands are underrated too, man. I think don't sleep on Mowgli's hands either, but obviously his kicks are his best weapon. Let's see what happens here. I got Gabriel. Now, next up, I'm excited to hear your take on this one, man. Next up in the strawweight division, we got Randa Marcos. She's 10-10, and Luana Pinheiro is 8-1. Currently, they got Luana Pinheiro -160. The comeback on Randa Marcos is +140. So let's do this again, my man. Tyler Santos, Gloria De Paula. We can keep going on. So look, I think that Luana Pinheiro is going to project to go farther than Randa Marcos. I think she's very talented. I like the fact that she's a finisher. I talk often at this level of the game, power can overcome technique, and it's not like Randa's hands, are the most technical in the world. I'm just saying. But also I like her jiu-jitsu game as well. Pinheiro's, that is. It's just, this is her UFC debut, Shaq. We've seen a lot of these Contender Series chicks. They do great. They look amazing. They look like they have a lot of potential. But in that debut, they lay a complete egg. And here with Randa Marcos, she's as experienced as they get. Now, a lot of people are excusing her last few losses because of the competition. I'm not one of those people. The reason why is because I remember when Randa Marcos was out here beating Carla Esparza. I cashed a +265 ticket. And you can say, oh, that was forever ago. Hey, Carla was still a former champ when that happened. Carla had already finished Rose Namajunas and beat Tisha Torres when that happened. Randa also beat Tisha Torres back in the day. So I think Randa at one point, she was an underrated fighter in that division. I feel like now she is declining a bit. And yeah, we can say Amanda Ribas, Mackenzie Dern. Okay, but what about this last fight against Murata? Listen, guys, I know some of y'all are hyping up Murata, but y'all know Murata got finished by Rin Nakai, right? So I'm just saying, we have seen debutantes go out there and beat Randa Marcos. And so my whole thing is this. I kind of wish she was fighting Randa Marcos in her second fight, because this could be like Barella versus Tyler Santos, where, you know, it doesn't matter who the better fighter is. You know, they lay that debut egg, or Jin Yu Fry versus Gloria De Paula. That's what I'm worried about here. So if you're taking Randa for the experience, because I mean, this girl Pinheiro hasn't fought anything. I completely understand that. But I actually do not like what I've seen from Randa lately. I don't like her training situation. Now she's in there with Travis Lutter, and you know, Travis Lutter is the yes man that told Kevin Holland he doesn't need to work on his wrestling, right? So I don't see things getting better for Randa, actually. So this time she might look. Luana might pull that debut egg, maybe, but I'm gonna go with Luana here, because I just don't think Randa up here mentally is where she once was. So I'll go Luana.
Yeah, man. I think Randa's days are over, man. Unfortunately, I just see it getting worse and worse and worse and worse. You know, she's always kind of been the win, lose, but now it's lose, 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 lose. You know, so man, Pinheiro, yeah, the whole Contender Series thing, man. I kind of disagree with that shit, to be honest. In hindsight, man, if you watch, you know, if we're talking about De Paula and Jin Yu Fry, you know, in hindsight, because I just watched Luke Boomy versus Jin Yu Fry. And I mean, look, Jin Yu Fry had a good third round against Luke Boomy. It was a good thing to lead into her next fight. You know, it was a positive thing, and you could just kind of tell those chicks were a lot more physical, like, you know, so in hindsight, just made a mistake there. And with Randa Marcos, I mean, everything is pointing down. You know, I did see that she's training with Kevin Holland and them, but I just think this is a last-ditch effort, man. I mean, I've been saying about Randa Marcos for years now that she's a mess. I mean, this is why her record is the way it is what it is. I mean, look at the wins, but then look at the losses. It's like, oh my God, like, and it's just getting worse. And the thing I like about this spot is the path is clearly here for victory. Take her down, get on top, and she ain't been getting up. She fought a black belt during. I mean, the fight was over very quickly. Amanda Ribas stayed on top of her for the whole time. Kanako stayed on top of her for pretty much the whole time. Pinheiro is a world champion jiu-jitsu player or a judo player or something like that. You know, Mateus has been teaching her about his left foot. She knocked out her last opponent with that left foot. I just think she can come out here, get the takedown, stay on top. Randa Marcos she's getting up there in age as well. She's got to be like over 35, you know, something like that. And I think it's just been getting worse and worse. Now it's back to the point where her record is under 500. I mean, she's 10-11 now. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Luana Pinheiro. Yeah, she hasn't really fought anybody, but you know, I'm gonna trust that, you know, at the training she's been getting at Nova União with Mateus, and more so the fact that Mateus is her head coach, that maybe he's got her groomed up a little bit better than, you know, some of these other girls. So I'm gonna go with Luana Pinheiro to dominate Randa Marcos, man. Randa Marcos, I haven't seen anything positive here, and to be honest, like the last time she looked good was against Angela Hill, but before that, man, it was a while since she looked good before that. Like, it's her whole UFC career has been like the potential is gone now. I mean, that's just facts. She's fighting for a job here on Saturday. So, and I've heard, you know, things in the past where, like, I've heard that Shelby is kind of like he's been trying to like set her up at times. Like, she's admitted this. Like she said that, like, if she says no to a fight, Shelby will be like, all right, well, I'll just cut you then. and then, you know, she has to take a fight with like Marina Rodriguez or Ribas and all this shit. But yeah, I think this is her last UFC fight.
I mean, listen, just Pinheiro, don't go out there and pull a Tyler Santos versus Barella, and you should win this fight. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got Poliana Botelho. She's 8-3. She's taking on Luana Dread Carolina, who's 6-2. Currently, they got Poliana Botelho minus 255. The comeback on Luana Carolina is plus 215. So, Shaq, I mean, look, I favor Poliana Botelho. Don't get me wrong. I think she's the more experienced fighter here. I think she's fought the better level of competition. I think possibly more well-rounded. But the way she fights, she likes to stand and bang. I mean, I've seen her finish girls with body kicks before. She hits hard for sure. Luana Carolina's got some good Muay Thai too, or some decent Muay Thai as well. Kind of leaves her chin in the air. That's my only issue with her striking, but she's got something there too. So, do you agree with Pollyanna being close to a 3-1 favorite here?
Yeah, look, no, I don't. But I think, look, she's got the. If anyone's gonna get the takedowns, it's gonna be Pollyanna. She actually is a wrestling champ, so I could. Yeah, that's it. My camera just. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, and now I can see you.
Yeah, but I think her. Man, I can't see me, but anyways, you can see me.
Yeah, I can see you. Your image is frozen, but I can see your face.
All right, I'll just keep talking. But anyways, man, I think yeah, Luana Carolina getting tapped out by Lipski. I mean that's not a good look. It's not a good look. I've been on the record to say Lipski is one of the bigger frauds to come along in the UFC in a long while. But at the same time, man, I've seen Pollyanna Botelho fight before live in person, and I've heard her huffing and puffing from where I was standing. Her cardio is in big concern.
He dropped out, but he is correct. We were in Atlanta, Georgia when she fought Lauren Mueller, and let's just say that third round when Lauren Mueller, who's known for her hands, known for her hands, but you know what I'm saying? She ain't known for her takedown. She was out there getting on top of Pollyanna Botelho in that third round. So that's what, Pollyanna's got one of those Novo and Yao gas tanks. And you know what we talk about when they start doing the Novo, when they start gassing out after that first round, they go super hard in that first round, then gas out big time and become walking mummies. And that's the kind of thing you should be worried about. In this spot here with Luana Carolina, I mean, if this is a stand-up fight, I could kind of see it being somewhat 50-50. I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people because Botelho is the much more experienced fighter here, but man, I like the volume of Luana Carolina, and if she's not getting put on her back, I think that there's a good chance Luana actually gets this upset. So personally, I'm gonna go with Luana Carolina to get it done. Look at these odds you got to. I think that if you took, let's see what the opener was, -185, even that's a little steep. I personally think Botelho should be more like -150. So there is value, in my opinion, on Luana Carolina at +215. And actually, I'm gonna pick Luana Carolina to get it done here just by out voluming Pollyanna Botelho. But she's definitely got to look out for those hard shots, that body kick, the one big punch, all that stuff. But if she avoids getting taken down, I think Luana can out volume her and outlast her down the stretch. So I'm going to go with Luana Carolina to win a decision, a close one, Shaq.
Yeah, I was saying, I worried about Pollyanna Botelho doing the Nova, and the Nova is when you is when you're huffing and puffing by the end of the first round. But I am going to pick her to get this one. I think she's going to get some takedowns here and actually kind of switch it up from what we see from her usually. I think she's going to hit some takedowns like she did against Lauren Mueller the first two rounds, and probably hold on for dear life in the last one. So I'll go with Pollyanna Botelho.
Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Merab the Machine Dvalishvili. He's 12-4. He's taking on Cody Stamann, who's 19-3. Currently, they got Merab Dvalishvili -250. The comeback, -250. The comeback on Cody Stamann +195. Great fight. I'm very excited about this one. So I can't really say too many bad things about Cody Stamann. I think that he's extremely solid. I think he's well-rounded. I think he's underrated. I think he knows exactly what he needs to do to win these fights. I think his takedown defense is on point. I mean, I saw Brian Caraway lift the leg of Cody Stamann like up over his head and still couldn't take him down. So this guy's very impressive. And the thing I like most about Cody Stamann is that, he doesn't really take too many unnecessary risks. He's just super solid and knows what he needs to get the job done. The only issue is that thing that I like about Stamann so much, the not taking unnecessary risks. I think that that's what might get him outworked in this spot here against Merab Dvalishvili, because I do think Merab's going to hit some takedowns on Cody, and Cody probably gets back up, but I think that Merab's going to kind of lean on him. And then in the striking department, I think a lot of people count out Merab striking. I think it's been making big improvements. That Dodson fight, I think he was only credited for like 2 takedowns, but I counted a lot more than 2 takedowns in that fight. Some of these numbers are completely off, just so y'all know. But and I thought his striking looked a lot better. I think that right now Merab is locked in a way where he might actually be towards that top 10 trajectory and moving up the rankings and going far. And look, Cody, I got nothing bad to say about Cody Stamann. So solid, a winner, a guy that I truly respect. I just think he's gonna get slightly outworked in this spot and lose an honorable decision here. So I'm gonna go with Merab Dvalishvili to outwork Cody Stamann via decision.
Yeah, Stamann, he's definitely a wrestler. He's definitely got the takedown defense. Definitely hasn't been taken down much. Yeah, but it's just Merab's such an aggressor, man. Merab takes the center. Merab, he's leading the dance. You're reacting to what he does. He's a ball of energy. Yeah, Cody Stamann. Look, the only way I see him winning this fight is if he can either. He's not known for his punching power. I do still see some openings in Merab striking, but I think only the better strikers, probably guys at the topper end of the division, could capitalize on. And Cody Stamann's more of a point fighter. So, yeah, man, it probably is a good matchup here for Merab to just, be the aggressor, move forward, make him react to the takedowns. I highly doubt Cody's going to be that aggressive just because we know Merab, I mean, he's already set the record from those takedowns at bantamweight, right? So we already know what type of game he's dealing with. But on another note, man, Cody Stamann, he's also one of these guys where it's kind of it's hard to look good against him, like except Aljamain. But Aljamain is like Merab's best friend. I'm sure he gave him some good pointers to get the win here. So yeah, I'll take him for the win here. But Cody Stamann, a lot of guys have off nights when they fight him, but we'll see what happens.
It's a good point. Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Sean Strickland, he's 22-3, and Krzysztof Jotko is 22-4. Currently, they got Sean Strickland -250. The comeback on Krzysztof Jotko is +200. So, Shaq, this should be a great matchup. I mean, Chris Jotko, he came through for us many times back in the day, and obviously we've been high on Sean Strickland since day one. I bet him in his debut. So I like both these guys a lot. I think Strickland's been looking a lot better since he moved up to 85s. Jotko on a 3-fight streak, so I think his confidence is back. How you see this one playing out, man?
Yeah, look, I think Strickland's been looking good his 2 fights since he returned back from that motorcycle accident. Seems like he, I follow him on Instagram, and I mean, dude's pretty crazy, man. I mean, dude, the shit this dude's saying, but I like it though, man. Seems like he's very passionate about fighting right now, which I kind of questioned with him, like when he was at 170, maybe it was the weight cut. I mean, I don't know. But I always used to wonder, like, does this dude really even care? It seems like now, man, since he had that motorcycle accident in LA, dude's just been, having these rants on Twitter. It's actually pretty good, man. But yeah, his last fight against Brennan, he did his thing. I like Strickland to win this fight. Like, I think that has the higher ceiling between the two, and I feel like he might even be slightly more hungry. The only concern I have is the line, because he is -2 something, and you have to respect what Krzysztof Jotko has done to get himself back into where he is going into Saturday night. I mean, at one point, Krzysztof was down in the dumps. I mean, everyone thought Krzysztof was about to be back in KSW with the getting the sponsors painted on him and stuff. You know how they do it out there in KSW. But and I think and the only concern I have is what happens if this becomes a slow fight? What happens if Strickland is trying to walk him down? And I noticed he kind of walked Brendan down a little recklessly with his chin up in the air. And Brendan, in my opinion, is a great fighter, but I just view Krzysztof Jotko being the better striker. much better footwork, much better angles, much better just everything, honestly. So look, Christoph, if he can make this a slow fight and make this a point battle and make this I honestly think he could. I'm not saying he's gonna be breakdancing in the middle of the cage after the fight, but I think, man, you keep fighting close to Christoph and you will pay the price. Just ask Eric, just ask a bunch of guys, man, what happens when you fight close to Christoph. You'll be looking at your coaches like, wait, I thought we won. But anyways, man, I'm going to go with Strickland here. I just think he's going to move forward, be more aggressive, probably capitalize on Christoph with his chin up in the air a couple of times. But at the same time, in hindsight, Strickland has his chin up in the air too. Christoph has a very good straight left, and he just has a lot better maneuvering around the cage in comparison to the two guys that he's fought, Marshman and Brendan Allen. So I'm going to pick Strickland for the win, but I think the line's too wide, man. I think Christoph, who'd he beat? Barrialt, some other Can, and Eric Anders. Definitely, those guys definitely aren't on Strickland's level, but we can't forget at one point, Christoph Jotko was a top 10 guy. At one point, he was the number one prospect at middleweight. And if his confidence has finally reached back to that point, I would not be shocked if he had a performance like that. I mean, I still believe in Christoph Jotko. I didn't necessarily stop believing in him either because, look, you got knocked out against Uriah Hall. I mean, look where Uriah Hall is right now. Uriah Hall is like top 7, 8.
And Chris was putting it on him too.
And Christoph was whooping his ass. So I'm not, I wouldn't be shocked if Christoph reminded everyone, like, guys, I'm still here. I am that top 15 guy. But it's going to be a good fight. But I'll go with Strickland by close decision.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm really happy that Christoph has his confidence back on that win streak. He's got a really nice Euro point fighting style, the footwork. I've always loved his footwork. He's been mixing in takedowns. One thing I got to say, the only fight in recent memory that he's gotten more than one takedown in is against Alan Amedovski, and prior to that was Brad Scott, or as we like to say in Brazil, Shaq, Brad Scotch. So he doesn't really get more than one takedown per fight often. And here with Strickland, look, I love the point fighting of Jotko. The only thing is Strickland actually has more output than Jotko. He's probably got more volume than him, and I think that he is a better boxer than Jotko for sure. It's just, Jotko, he's got a great body kick, the footwork. Sometimes he can make these fights look a lot closer than they are. So I agree that, I don't blame anyone for taking the shot on Jotko, but I also personally am going to go with Strickland as well, because I do think that, when you talk about, a point fighter in Jotko, well, Strickland's got more output than him, and I think that Strickland's got better hands than him. And Strickland's confidence is at an all-time high right now. So maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing, right? Sometimes they get overconfident, but I think Strickland's a guy that's been paying his dues in the UFC for a long long time, man. He's been in the UFC since before half the battle was even a show. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Strickland here to get it done, but much respect to Jotko for sure. Next up in the light heavyweight division, the featured bout. Before we talk about the featured bout, give us a like and a subscribe. We appreciate it. We got Iwan the Hulk Cutelaba. He's 15-6. He's taking on Dustin Jacoby, who's 14-5. Currently, they got Iwan Cutelaba -140. The comeback on Dustin Jacoby is +120. So, Shaq, sometimes Iwan Cutelaba just comes out like a madman, killer be killed, swinging big bombs. Other times, not always, not often, but every now and then we'll see him go to his wrestling, because he allegedly does have this Moldovan wrestling background. Just rarely uses it, but when he decides to use it, it's effective. And I would say that this is probably a fight where he wants to use it, or where he should at least. What do you think, man? I mean, is he gonna fight? Can you count on a maniac like this to fight smart? Or is he going to stand with, the glory kickboxer and potentially get hurt?
Yeah, look, it's simple with Cutelaba. When fights go out the first round, what usually happens? I mean, it's either he comes out and just kills you right away, or he gasses out. But at the same time, he has lost to some good guys. But Jacoby is a tough style to deal with for a guy like him, in my opinion, just because we know that if this fight gets extended, his combinations, his whole striking arsenal, the low kicks, the jabs. His boxing ain't necessarily the best, but the kicks and the calf kicks per se, it's just really, you could see Jan Cutelaba gassing out to things like that, and kind of having trouble like what he's had in the past, man. But yeah, look, if Cutelaba comes out here and wrestles and jumps on him right away, yeah, he could get the finish. But I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Jacoby on this one, man. I know a lot of people think his last fight was a robbery, and look, it was close. And I'm not saying that Grisham, fought bad or Jacoby fought bad. It was a close fight, but look, Grisham missed weight by like 5 pounds. So if it's 50-50, you give it to the guy that made weight, and that's what they did. I think, I'm gonna go with Jacoby in this one to kind of just weather the storm, probably lose the first round, weather the storm early, take this whooping up front. But in rounds 2 and 3, this dude is gonna be huffing and puffing. He doesn't think straight in the late rounds. How old is Cutelaba? He's still a young kid, man. He's still like 25, 6, young.
27, man.
Yeah, 27. Man, one of these days, but man, the only concern I heard Cutelaba move to Las Vegas. And I heard he left Moldova. I heard he's with Nick. I don't know if Nixick is cornering him, but I know that he's been at Extreme. I know he's been he left Moldova for this fight. So, we'll see what happens. If there's going to be any improvements here. I saw him on his Instagram. He's been doing some sparring with Francis and Ganu and some other guys. I wonder how that went, but I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Jacoby by 29-28 decision, kind of win the second and third rounds. But man, there's a chance there's a draw. There's a chance he gets 10-8 in the first as well.
Yeah, Francis was pulling those punches, right? He wasn't hurting anybody.
They have to tell Francis 30%.
Like, Francis, take it easy on him.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, Iwan Cutelaba, he's experienced. He's been in the UFC half a decade. He's fought some tough ass dudes in the UFC. He's got that wrestling background that he never uses, but occasionally when he decides to use it against like Khalil Roundtree, which like the reason I'm bringing that up, Khalil known for that Muay Thai, Dustin known for that kickboxing. If you want to go ahead and take this guy down. Now, I'm not saying Dustin is going to just fold like Khalil did when he got taken down. That's the big thing. Like, if Dustin gets taken down in round 1, does that mean the fight's automatically over? Because, those kickboxers don't fight on the mat, right? So it's like, how is his get-up game? How is his takedown defense? On Contender Series, it looked good. But on Contender Series, he was in there against a guy named Ty Flores. No disrespect to him, but Iwan's kind of on a higher level than that, right? So what happens if Iwan gets on top of Dustin Jacoby in that first round? That's my big question, because I really don't know. I mean, maybe he finishes Dustin Jacoby. But one thing I do know, like you said, like we've known for years, this guy is killer to be killed, Iwan is. So you get him out the first round and he hasn't gotten you out of there, or he hasn't severely compromised you, that's your turn to pick it up. And you huff and puff against a glory kickboxer, a real glory kickboxer. He was actually fighting like world champions there. Dustin might.
Yeah, it's a good point you said that. There's a difference between a glory kickboxer and a real glory kickboxer,
Yeah, this guy's the real one. Like, he was fighting like I forget. Oh, he was like in there with like Simon Marcus and Wayne. He beat Wayne Barrett. Like, if he beat him. He beat Wayne Barrett. Like say less. You know what I mean? He went to a decision with Simon Marcus. Like, if you all don't know who those guys are, those are like elite glory kickboxers. At least they were in their primes. So the reason I'm bringing that up, I know, different sport. If you can get past this first round, Dustin Jacoby, there is a good chance you are going to light this man up. But yeah, I mean, look, we do have questions about Jacoby. Not just in the grappling. Maybe does he have a little bit of that kickboxer chin? I did see him get a little wobble that last fight. He has been knocked out before, so Iwan hits like a truck. So there are a lot of questions. And like you were saying, Iwan, maybe one day he's finally going to put it together. I know he's a talented guy. He's been in the UFC a long time. He's just a maniac, So maybe one day he puts it together. Maybe that one day is Saturday, because, I mean, this is Dustin's third UFC fight, right? But Dustin's the dog here. Get past the first round, and the odds increase big time in your favor. So I'm going to go with Dustin for the upset. Now, this one I've been looking forward to for a long time, Shaq. The co-main event of the evening. We got the legend Killer Cub Swanson. He's 27-11, and he's taking on Giga Chikadze, who's 12-2. Currently, they got Giga Chikadze minus 165. The comeback on Cub Swanson is plus 145. So, look, obviously, Giga's never fought anybody like Cub before. We can't debate that. Cub's been in there with everybody, literally, and he's beat some of the best guys on planet Earth. But stylistically, I'm curious about your opinion here, because it's like, on one hand, Giga doesn't really have to worry about a takedown threat here, and that's, historically been his weakness. This guy's a real kickboxer. But let me ask you this. So they are going to stand. Giga's the longer guy. Giga's the taller guy. Cub's going to have to get in on that range. There's going to be some things waiting for him, maybe a big knee, maybe whatever the case may be. But Cub can crack too, man, and you think there's a chance Cub can come out here and get an upset knockout?
Yeah, I like this fight a lot, and Cub Swanson had a my bad. Cub Swanson had a great knockout his last fight against Daniel the Pit Pineda. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, watching that fight, the fight only lasted less than a round. And what I noticed is Daniel Pineda, just talent-wise, is nowhere near the level of Giga Chikadze. As much as it was a great, spectacular, classic Cub Swanson, vicious, beautiful destruction, stiffening KO, 100%. But I think y'all got a different thing coming. If y'all think he's doing that to Giga Chikadze, man, look, I really like this matchup for Chikadze, man, just because, like you were saying earlier, the wrestling, the grappling is what. If Giga has one weakness, it's his cardio. The wrestling and the grappling is what makes is what usually gets him tired. When you lean on him, clinch him, make him get up from bottom and strike again. That's what makes him get tired. And Cub Swanson doesn't necessarily bring that to the table. I mean, Cub Swanson is planning on. You already heard what Giga Chikadze said. He's like, this is gonna be one of the first times you see Cub Swanson turn into a wrestler, man. So, I just think that if your game plan is to try to outstrike or land a bomb on Giga Chikadze, I just think it's at this stage in Cub Swanson's career, I don't think it's a good idea. I see Giga picking Cub apart, man. I know he knocked out Daniel Pineda, but Daniel Pineda does not have the boxing, the kicking game, the even his cardio ain't even as good as Giga Chikadze's. I mean, Daniel Pineda hasn't even been to a decision in like a career that's lasted over like 10, maybe like one decision in a career, because I know he went to decision with Manny, but like one decision in like how many fights? Just because he beat Herbert Burns, it doesn't mean he's gonna beat Cub Swanson. And I think that he's getting a little bit too much stain for that knockout win against Daniel Pineda. I just don't see Pineda being on that level of Chikadze. I think this is the fight he's been wanting, the fight that he's been looking to make his name off of. The way he looked against Omar Morales, who was 13-0 at the time, in his cardio held up for 15 minutes there, which I wanted to see. That's the only question I have. It's pretty much everyone at that King's MMA team, Marvin, Benil, Chikadze. We always wonder about their cardio because they go so hard. But I think as long as he manages that cardio, man, he's winning a decision here by being the flashier, more diverse, better arsenal of strikes, better footwork. Cub Swanson's going to be reaching in, swinging bombs, and I think he's going to get countered. I think the opponents that Chikadze are going to have are the guys that can wrestle and box, that can do both well. But I don't see Cub Swanson being that guy, so I'm taking Giga Chikadze to kind of just pick him apart, man, and make him look like a veteran on his way out of the game. No disrespect to Cub Swanson. I love my boy Cubby Bear, man. I grew up on Cubby Bear, man. I think Cub Swanson is a legend of the 45 division, but I see him taking a loss on Saturday.
So, I heard some people talking about like, he's going from Jamie Simmons to Cub Swanson. It's like, guys, who gives a fuck about the Jamie Simmons? Firstly, he knocked him out in the first round viciously, but who even gives a shit about the Jamie Simmons fight? Let's talk about the Omar Morales fight. Like, because I bet on Omar Morales to beat Shane Young a couple weeks back, and when I watched that Giga fight, I was like, oh my God, the speed that Giga is operating with, and like it just I was blown away by that Omar performance. I don't know about some of y'all, but I was like, God damn, this guy is a problem. And your game plan is to stand and bang with this guy. I mean, look, maybe you can catch him. Cubs caught many people before. Giga, in kickboxing has been wobbled before. Some people thought he might have got wobbled against Jamal Emmers, maybe not. But bottom line, like, hey, maybe Cub can land one of those big bombs on him. But if you talk about that Pineda fight, so all I hear about is the knockout. How come I don't hear about people talking about how Pineda was going out there and leg kicking the hell out of Cub Swanson to a point where Cub had to switch his stance? And, Pineda looked fat in that fight. Pineda is, he's off the juice that he was in. The reason Pineda couldn't compete for the $1 million tournament, for the finals is because he tested positive. And let me just say this. You test positive in PFL? Like, that means that you're on some other shit, because you see how these guys have been looking. Their drug testing in PFL is super lenient. So for you to fail those tests, like what kind of like what kind of shit what kind of physical vitamins was he on,
in PFL they're omitting Osterin tests, so dudes can go ahead and load.
Bro, did you see what Sung Bin Jo looked like? Sung Bin Jo looked like the Hulk his last fight. I was like, that's the guy that fought Tamor. I was like, what?
Why couldn't you throw like that?
like physically, like he put on like 30 pounds of muscle. I was like, yo, who's this guy? I was like, wait, that's not the same Sung Bin Jo. That must be some other guy. But yeah, for Daniel Pineda to fail those drug tests, like, what kind of shit was he on? And he looked fat in that Cub Swanson fight, and he was still having success with those leg kicks. It's just, we already know the deal with Pineda. First rounder bust, always gasses after the first. And I know Chikadze gasses, but not after the first. He gasses after the second. He's going to get off to a huge lead here in the first and second. Survive that third. Giga just survived that third round. But there's a chance he can put Cub away too. Cub's had more than one broken jaw. Cub got dropped by a jab against Moicano. I can see Giga coming out here and making a statement. And oftentimes we talk about that there's levels to this. For sure, I agree. But stylistically speaking, you're trying to get into a striking match with probably one of the best strikers in the division. So, and he's the longer guy, the taller guy. You're going to have to close distance on him. And not only are you going to have to close distance on him, your style, Cub Swanson, relies on big loopy hooks. I think those straight shots down the middle are going to land first, man. So look, maybe Cub catches him. Cub is such a vet. Cub's a legend. Cub beat Dustin Poirier back in the day. Cub's done some shit in this sport, bro. But I think stylistically, this is a tough match. I'm going to go with Giga to land the harder shots, the more impactful shots. And I think he's going to announce himself as a contender at 145 pounds Saturday night. So all due respect to the legend Cub, I'm going to go with Giga here. Main event of the evening. This is going to be amazing. We got the former number one contender. We got Dominick Reyes. He's 12-2. He's taking on Jiri Prochazka, who's 27-3. Currently, they got Jiri minus 126. The comeback on Dom Reyes is plus 106. So, Shaq, at first I was like, why is the guy that, fought, tooth and nail with John Jones? He only lost to the last two champions. Like, why is he a dog against this guy? But this guy Jiri is no slouch, man. This guy here, to come into his UFC debut against Volkan Oezdemir and to starch him, which no one's ever done the way he did. Look, the thing about Jiri is that he's a win big or lose big kind of guy. Like, when he wins, it's going to be some of the most epic highlight reel knockouts you've ever seen in your life. When he loses, he's probably going to get destroyed too because of his style. He fights with his hands down a little bit. He showboats, which I love. I love watching that stuff. He's a character. He's very unique. I don't think we've seen anyone like him before. So it's win big or lose big. The issue with this fight is Dominick Reyes is more of kind of a point fighter. The only guy, firstly, he's never knocked out anyone at 205 in the UFC. Jared Cannonier's a middleweight. Chris Weidman's a middleweight. Joachim Christensen. Yeah, do I have to say anything about that? So we're not dealing with a big knockout threat. He's more of like a volume guy. And I think that people exaggerate how that John Jones went. I watched it last night, and like, did Dominick Reyes do good those first 2 rounds? Yes, but the rounds that Jones won were way more decisive than the rounds that Dom won. I mean, I remember the commentators were like, man, Dom's got to dig deep here. Man, Dom looks like he's gassing out. Man, Dom's running out of energy. Whereas the moments that Dom had, it was like, oh, he landed a couple punches in a fist fight. Oh my God. Because look, when you're dealing with these dominant champions, like, people overblow anytime their opponent has any kind of success against them because we're so used to them being completely dominant. So the fact that John Jones took a couple punches in a fist fight, oh my God, like, people are acting like he won because he landed a couple shots. But it's like, at the end of that, the last 3 rounds, he started bringing, he was running away from Jones. He didn't have that same volume. Jones, like I said, when the commentators are like, man, Reyes has got to dig deep here. They weren't saying Jones got to dig deep. So, I mean, I think we knew who the champ was that night. I mean, like I said, you don't overblow these little moments that fighters have just because they're facing a dominant champion. You got to actually watch what really happened. And what really happened was John dug deep, won the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, period, point blank. Go watch it again. Then the next fight against Reyes, excuse me, against Jan Blachowicz. I think that Reyes, he acted like the fight was already won before it even started. He looked even worse in that fight. He got blown out the water by the champ. No shame in that. Now he's fighting Jiri Prochazka. My issue with this fight for Reyes is this, man. It's like, when your confidence is down in the dumps and you're questioning everything. I mean, if you hear his interviews, he was questioning if he's still that guy. Like, am I really the guy I say I am? This and that. Like, I think that Jones fight was very deflating for him. Like, Jiri is super confident right now. Yuri's in his prime right now. There is not an ounce of weakness in the confidence and the mental game of Jiri. So it's like, stepping in there with a guy like that, like, this is not the rebound fight you want. But the issue on Yuri's side is the way he fights. He can get caught in any fight. Now, he's won, he's had 30 fights. He's won 27 of them. So he's got a pretty damn good percentage of winning. And he's beat some real guys. Vadim Nemkov finished him. Volkan Oezdemir finished him. And the thing I like most, look, I love the showboating. I love the flashy style. I love his boxing. Don't forget about that nasty head kick he has. But the thing I like most about Jiri is his toughness, man. I've seen this guy come back in fights too. I've seen him get taken down and held down and grind it out for minutes at a time, come back up and knock the guy out. So he never wavers on his confidence. And I think that's going to be the difference here between him and Reyes. Look, there's obviously a chance Reyes can knock him out. And if you're betting Reyes, look, he went the distance with John Jones. He's fought better people. And Jiri fights with his hands down. So maybe Reyes knocks him out. Maybe. But I kind of think Jiri, just confidence level right now, I just think he's going to be more in tune with his attacks, and I think he's going to hit Reyes with some big stuff, and I think there's a chance he might hand him his 3rd consecutive defeat. So I'm going to go with the favorite here, Jiri Prochazka, to get it done, Shaq, and I think we got someone to look out for in the top 5 of the light heavyweight division.
Yeah, Reyes, man. I think there's a chance this guy was severely overrated, man. You look back at his fight with Volkan Oezdemir. I mean, I know it was controversial. I thought he won, but I know a lot of people thought he didn't win that fight. Then you go into the, these opponents like Chris Weidman coming up from 85s. Chris has been, shout out to Chris. I'm not even gonna get into that, but and then you got the Jones and the Blachowicz fights. Yeah, I think he put too much mentally, man. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced. Just hearing how he's talking, man, I don't know if he's truly over that, man. I think that he's still, like, in his soul is still hung up on that, man. And I know he took that because I bet on Blachowicz to win the belt against him at like +2 some odds. And that was the big reason because I felt like Dominick Reyes, not even that he thought the fight was over, because the closer to the fight he started backpedaling and he started giving Blachowicz a lot more respect, saying that Blachowicz is a tougher fight than John Jones. And turns out he was right, because it was a tougher fight than John Jones. But I think that he put so much. Like, after that fight, I remember the things he was saying. He was like, "I'm the GOAT." He kept saying that, "I'm the GOAT. I'm the GOAT. I'm the uncrowned champ. Everyone knows I'm the champ." And it's like, man, if you really believe that stuff and you let your head even believe that type of stuff, and another thing, I have a reason to believe that he might be surrounded by yes man. Now, I don't know his training situation, but from what it sounds like, it's his brothers that are coaching.
Hold on. You don't have reason to believe. You have factual evidence to believe, because I watched that fucking Destin video and he's training with his brother.
His brother, yeah, it's like he's got three brothers.
Sorry to interrupt you, brother. There's not a head coach supervising things. There's Dom even said in the interview, "I'm the head guy. I run my camps." Okay, Dom, you're at the highest level. You ain't fighting these bums in LFA anymore. You're fighting the best guys on planet Earth, and you're the head of your camp. That's all I gotta say, Shaq.
Well, yeah, the reason why I brought that up, man, is watching some of his fights, at least the last two fights with Jones and Blachowicz, man, you could just hear the difference in like his corner versus like Blachowicz corner, or his corner and John Jones's corner, Greg Jackson and Winklejohn, and them, and it's like his brothers, honestly, bro, they're not telling him any technical advice. They're just saying, yeah, do it, like, yeah, you're doing good, like I'm like, wait, Reyes, what happened? I thought he was training at like Elevation, like, but I guess he stopped that. I guess he wants to. I think there's a chance that Reyes went off the deep end, man, after that Jones fight, mentally speaking, and just I don't know if he's gonna be able to recover from it unless he can get like a layup fight to get his confidence back, man. As far as Prochazka, look, the only concern I have is the time he's going to pay the price for his hands down. At some point, it's going to happen. Dominick Reyes on the bright side is not known for his one punch power, but at the same time, any straight left with this guy's hands down the way it is, man, it's scary. But at the same time, with that hands down, man, he has an offensive like arsenal, like an attack, man, that is very hard to predict. I mean, the way this dude moves all over the place. I mean, you saw how Ozdemir was looking. Ozdemir was like, damn, where is he coming from? Like, I don't know. Like, shit. And he actually dropped Prochazka, and Prochazka popped right back up. And the reason I believe why it might be harder to actually knock him out is because look at his history in Rising, man. Like in his fights with Nemkov and these other guys. There's another dude, man. He beat Nemkov's brother in Bellator. What's his name? He beat Nemkov too. Victor, you know what I'm talking about? The dude's from like Sweden or some shit. But anyways, like, man, these rounds that they have in Rising were 10-minute rounds.
Carl Albertson, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. He's also another good fighter. And in some of these fights, man, like, they have 10-minute rounds in the first round. So they got 205 guys got to fight. That's why Nemkov couldn't continue for the second round, because a 10-minute first round, man, he gassed himself out so bad that, like, I mean, he couldn't even get up off the mat. I mean, I think Prochazka is used to that type of pace. He comes out and he's looking to instantly, overwhelm these guys with an attack that they're not used to. And I think that's probably what he's going to do here on Saturday night. My gut tells me that Dom Reyes, I don't want to say this guy's done, because at one point I was high on him, but he's just not showing good signs right now, man. It's just like, going into the Blachowicz fight, it was apparent to me that he was still not over this John Jones thing. And then I remember the night Blachowicz beat Adesanya recently, and who do I see running his mouth on Twitter? It's Dominick Reyes saying that the only fight I've ever lost is to Jan Blachowicz, and I'm like, Dominick, you're still like, get off this shit, bro. Like, the fight happened how long ago now? Like, he's still mad about this decision. He's like, I won the first 3 rounds. Everyone knows it. Blachowicz is the only guy I've lost to. But hey, to each his own. I'm going with Jiri Prochazka. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm not even going to try. But I just think he's going to come out here and overwhelm Dominick with his angles. Just the ways he's coming at him. Dominick is kind of, honestly, just a traditional point fighter, like you were saying, got a good left hand, but I just think it's upstairs with him. I think there's a lot of things, and I don't like this brothers. this brother thing coaching, like you got your 3 brothers coaching you. I know, you want to make sure your brothers are taken care of, and they got money in their pockets. But I mean, I'm sure Blachowicz has got a brother. You don't see him coming. You don't see his brother cornering him, or I think it's very yes man-y. I mean, just you can hear the way they talk to him in the corner. They're not telling him anything he's doing wrong. They're just saying, yeah, you got it, you got this, shit like that. Like, kind of like you would see on some of the lower levels, man. So I'm going with Jiri to knock this dude out, man, in the first round. Look, as far as that thing on his head, I'm not gonna look too much into it. I am worried that maybe this kid get his his $100,000 payday, and did he fucking go off the deep end as well? Would I have liked him to have his normal haircut? Yes, but at the same time, man, Prochazka, at least it's not like he's one of these dudes that's been fighting complete bunch. Like I said earlier, like he beat Nemkov. I mean, Nemkov, in my opinion, could come to the UFC and handle some of these 205ers as well. He took care of Volkan Ozdemir in the first round. Like that's in the second round, my bad. But that says a lot, man. So I'm going with him to get the win. I think Reyes might be done.
Yeah, I mean, Reyes just strikes me as very uncoachable. And when we talk about the brothers, we ain't talking about like Angel Cejudo, who was actually like a badass wrestler.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Has, who has like, skin in the game. You know what I mean? Like these brothers, like that's like, yeah.
Like his one brother got knocked out by Mike Perry and never fought again. I don't even know his other 2 brothers. I mean,
I mean, as far as Jiri losing his mind because of the hair, don't even look into it, because you hear him talk. Not only is he super respectful to Reyes, like just his mindset's different, man. Like he's like one of these guys, like he's really in tune with the samurai spirit. He's meditating every single day. He's got the right people around him, and I love his attitude. He said the right things about Reyes. He said he's a fantastic athlete, and I'm ready, period. Like he didn't have to disrespect him. He didn't have to downgrade him. He respected him. Like I like you hear this guy Jiri talk, and he's a very thoughtful and insightful individual. Like I was like, God damn, like there's a method to the madness, and he actually speaks really good English too. Yeah, I think there might be something about this guy.
Another thing, man, them Czech Republic, man. I remember a few years ago I didn't really know any fighters they had besides my boy. I don't know if you remember Carlos Vemola back in the day.
Of course.
But the steroid, he grew a bunch of weed in the Czech Republic and got arrested for this shit, right? But
free Carlos Vemola.
No, he's out now.
Okay, good.
But man, the Czech, man, they got Muradov, Mahmoud Muradov's doing big things. They got Dvorak, the flyweight, and now they got Jiri, man. So look out for the Czech Republic, man. They're doing big things.
Hell yeah, no questions asked. Listen, normally we do the fight to watch and fighter to watch, but we got to get out of here. Thank you so much to all our fans, all our supporters, all our listeners for checking out this very special edition of Half the Battle. Do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped. Use the promo code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify. All the places where we are available. We'll be back for the next card. Shaq, follow him at MMA Genius 05. Follow me at Best Fight Picks. Go to bestfightpicks.com. Thank you guys so much for all your support. And until the next time, let's cash